Morning. How are you? How many times do we get to see each other today? Just coming out of conference, I felt we had a really good conference. You watched last night, passing the rule to take up 4 more appropriation bills, and we get those done. Hopefully get those done by Thursday. That'd be 73% of all the discretionary spending. I talked to my conference today. I think to get the next 5, we're going to need more time, so we will pass a continuing resolution, bring that rule up hopefully on Friday, that would keep government open, but at the same time deal with the border. I know some of you worked late last night. Thank you for following us. But if you paid attention to what happened on the border yesterday, 11,000 people came across illegally. That's 50,000 just in the last 5 days. And you've got the governor of New York, you've got the governor of Massachusetts declaring a state of emergency. Now, the president can take action. The president could do something here that would really help us be able to keep government open, at the same time secure our borders, and I think that's what he's hearing from a lot of Democratic leaders across this nation and also here in Congress. With that, take questions.
What specifically do you want Biden to do?
Well, a number of different things. He should finish where the wall is at. He should have remain in Mexico. He's got the Title 42 as well, to be able to secure the border and stop moving everybody across illegally.
Is the Senate's plan a non-starter in the House?
I don't see the support in the House.
You said in there you would not do, you told McConnell you wouldn't do anything on Ukraine without border.
Look, I don't see,
Does that mean if there was border stuff in there, you'd consider Ukraine, or how do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, especially when you're looking at America, so 50,000 people in the last 5 days. We watch this time and again. Massachusetts, a state of emergency. New York, it's become the #1 issue, and we're going to ignore that. I think if you want to walk and chew gum at the same time, you've got to deal with the issues before you. I want to deal with disaster, but I want to also deal with the border.
Has there been any
votes on a CR?
The people in Congress, they have the right to vote. So that's where we would find. Okay, so I would first go to the people in Congress who have a right to vote, and I'd find 218 for that.
Do you have that?
They came out of conference saying they were still a no.
I don't understand where somebody would want to stand with President Biden on keeping an open border and not keep government open. When you look at how it funds government, it also puts in H.R. 2 that would secure our border. And I think that would be very important to the rest of the nation. So, I mean, Democrats have the opportunity to vote for it as well.
Have you had an opportunity has the White House reached out to you? Have you spoken to the White House? Is that necessary? Do you need to meet with the president in order to resolve this before Sunday?
Look, I look at President Biden. Think about what America looks like now that President Biden has come into office. We've got a wide open border. We've got people picketing in Michigan that it's going to put more cost into cars. And why are they picketing? Because his policies subsidize electric cars that are taking their jobs away. We got in Hollywood 5 months of picketing. We got 5 embassies, American embassies in other countries that had to be evacuated. Based upon his missteps in Afghanistan, we now have allies turning towards China. We now have something we haven't seen since the 30s, the creation of the axis of powers of North Korea, China, Russia, and Iran bounding together. They feel like there's strength in the world against us. All this chaos is based upon his foreign policy, his immigration policy. He's got people in his own party now, states declaring states of emergency. I think if you were the leader of the free world, if you were the president of the United States, do you hide? I would lean into it. I would welcome a meeting with the president on how to secure the border. I have asked for that from the day I took office. Let's deal with the border. And we've watched, just in the last 5 days, 50,000 people come across. 50,000 in 5 days. We watch it become the #1 issue. We watch not just that, but fentanyl continuing to grow and killing Americans. Do you want to just ignore that? We've watched our border agents come back bloody. We watched cartels on the other side of the border become wealthy and more aggressive. We watched the human trafficking continue to expand. I wouldn't ignore these problems. Just going and joining a picket line that you created doesn't solve the problem by having a photo op. Why don't you sit down in a meeting? Why aren't you serious about making sure government doesn't shut down? The first thing I would do, I would sit down with us. I want to sit down with the president to secure that border.
How would a meeting with the president solve your current problem of trying to pass a CR this week?
Well, it's not my current problem, it's America's problem.
But no, it's the House's responsibility to fund the government, right?
Well, okay, let's compare that. How many bills has the Senate passed? How many appropriation bills has the Senate passed?
They're working on a CR. right
How
now.
many?
They haven't passed
It's not a tough question. You ask me questions every day. Name me one appropriation out of the 12 appropriation bills the Senate has
They haven't
passed this year.
any. They're working on
So the Senate has not passed any. Okay. And what is the House doing?
They're working on
5 bills,
appropriation
73%.
bills that
Okay.
aren't- that are-
Okay.
They're not going to fund the government though.
I'm sorry. What does appropriation bill do?
After September 30th. the
What
government-
does an appropriation bill do? How many appropriation bills does it take to fund government? 12. The Senate has passed 0.
So if you
The
vote
House
for the
is working on.
appropriations bills, the government will shut down.
Let me answer your questions, but first let's get the facts right. Your first question was, and I answered it, the Senate has done nothing. The Senate has not done one thing when it comes to appropriation. Is that different than we have in the past?
Okay.
No, normally the Senate doesn't even bring them up in committee. So the Senate's done nothing. The House is working on passing 73% of all the appropriation bills of the job we're supposed to do by Thursday. We're bringing up on Friday ability to fund the government, but at the same time secure our border. So yes, we're doing our job. So what does the president have to do with that? If he wants to sit and hide in the White House and put government into a shutdown, that's on him. But that's the wrong thing to do. I like to see anything out there. If it's a challenge, I want to solve the problem. If you look at when you're sitting with the Senate doing too, we have the FAA to deal with. That goes away on September 30th. Has the Senate passed an FAA bill? No, they have not. When we look at a challenge on the border, have they passed any bill themselves? They're a different body on something to deal with the border, even though the leader from the Senate comes from New York and his governor and mayor are crying for something to be done. No, they've done nothing on it. Because had they passed a bill, the House has passed a bill, we could go to conference and solve that. So why am I asking the president to sit down? Because the Senate has not done their job. The Senate has not taken up the House work. So no, the president should step in and do something about it. Otherwise, government will shut down, just like we're having strikes in Michigan, just like we had a 5-month strike in California, just like we have embassies that are having to be evacuated around the world. That's a lack of leadership. So show some leadership. This is your policies. This wasn't a policy that was passed from the House and Senate that opened up this border. It was simply your decision, and you could do something to change it. It would keep government open while we finish the job, and hopefully the Senate can get around to appropriation bill. Thank you all very much.
You're an inquiry hearing tomorrow. What do you want to hear from the witness?